The key insights of theory of constraints was that you can actually analyze and manage and improve the whole system by analyzing, managing, and improving each constraint of that system. So what does a system consist of? It consists of a goal. The goal, which could be an impact goal or an income goal, determines the work that has to be done. What products or service will the system produce to achieve more of the impact or income it is trying to generate? The goal and the work also dictates the process that we're going to be using to make the work, to produce the products, to produce the services. It defines the steps, it defines the dependencies, whether you're in a production or operations or project environment. It also defines not only the resources you need, but how much of every resource you need. And there's only 5 types of resources we need for managing organizations. We need enough demand for the products or services we provide to achieve the goal. If we don't have enough demand, we have a demand constraint. We need enough capacity and capability to deliver enough of the work. We need enough supply, external resources. We need enough cash. We need enough management attention. Any resource we do not have enough of is a constraint. And just a reminder for those, I remember when I was marking the fundamentals exam the first time we offered it at TOC ICO, the most common mistake most people make when they're defining the 5 focusing steps, they forget to put in the S in brackets. Step 1 is identify the system constraints, not constraint. And in fact, the first time Dr. Barnard verbalized this, he made a note. He says, I'm putting it in brackets because having a single constraint can happen in simple situations. The more common situation is you have multiple constraints. If you're overloading one resource because you've overcommitted and you have very much balanced systems, it's very likely that you've overloaded multiple resources. So you have to be very careful there to not just think about one weakest link, one constraint. Think about, I have a goal. The goal requires me to have a certain amount of resources across all those areas. What don't I have enough of? That is my system constraint. I then have the last 2 parts, which is what are the rules I'm going to be using to manage the flow of work through the process and to manage the resources. And I have different rules. I have rules for deciding what the design of my system would be like. And I'll share with you an example of what does the supply chain network look like? What is the most optimum? That's a decision we have to make. We get it right. It could be highly profitable. We get it wrong. It could be very unprofitable. We have to make decisions around pricing of our products and services. We have to make decisions about how we will plan and execute and improve. By far, the biggest leverage points in the system is just changing the rules. Not changing the work that we do, not changing the process that we follow, not changing the resources, just changing the rules that we use to manage the flow of work and resources. And then the last part of a system is there's measurements, and these measurements are 3 types. There's lag measurements telling us if we are achieving more of the goal, the impact and income. There are lead measurements that tells us why. So the lag measurements, are we okay? Are we achieving our goal? The lead measurements is why are we not okay? And then we also have compliance metrics, a very important part, because if I'm not achieving the outcome, I want to know, is it because I'm not following the right rules? I need to change the rules, or is it simply non-compliance to the right rules, which can frequently happen? And then we have to investigate why are people not complying. So this is just a very simple way of thinking about a system. Now, that layer there could be multiple subsystems. So you can imagine the goal of the organization creates a demand on the HR department. The work that they do is hiring new candidates. It puts a demand on the finance department. The work that they do is process transactions, manage the cash. It puts a load on the operations, etc. So as you're going through that, what you want to do is the 5 focusing steps can really apply at the company level, but at any subsystem level. And the simple question is, do I have enough? My role as a manager is to make sure the work that the system puts on me is getting done and that I have enough resources to get it done in time. I hope that provides some clarity, especially for the newcomers, of how to think about it. So the constraint can be at the system level. Overall, we don't have enough demand for our product or service, and I have to address that, but it can be from time to time that the HR, as a result of some budgeting constraint, they might not have enough resources to cope with the demand that the system is putting on them.